Let's go to Simon in Brixton. What do you think, Simon? Hi.
Oh, hi, Vanessa. Thanks for having me. I think
Pleasure.
that it's really bad if they scrap it. I think it's just another thing where they're pandering to reform the sort of national socialism policy of giving more money away. And I think that it encourages the worst people in society to have too many children. Let's face it, whenever there's something on so-called childhood poverty on TV, the parents, they're always obese. They're often not even from the UK. And I think that we have a growing population. Our grandparents' generation, what was the world population like? 1 billion, 2 billion people, and it's going up to 8 billion. This idea that we need a pyramid scheme of more and more people at the bottom and children staying in education, or used to be able to leave school at 14, then it was 16, which I think is the right age. Now they leave school at 18, and then actually university for everyone, even if you're kind of stupid, until 21, 22. So you're being paid for by the state until you're 21, 22, then retiring at 63 for a sort of 30-year holiday.
Where'd you get 63 from? It's 60. They're going up to 67.
Oh, it's gone up 1 year every few years, hasn't it?
But it's going up to 67 next year, I think it is, because I keep waiting for mine. Question, I'm 63. Question, though, you said the worst people. And that sounded, I must say, I mean, I'm pleased you phoned. I'm sure you're a delightful person, but it sounded really horrible to say that because, the poorest people aren't necessarily the worst people. Did you mean to say that? Because that's an incredibly sort of supercilious and contemptuous thing to say about people who are struggling financially. Just because they're poor doesn't mean they're the worst people, surely.
Well, didn't you? I mean, you said it's the poorest people having all these too many children, right?
But why are the poorest people? But why are they the worst people? Because they're poor. Surely you don't think the rich people are the best people, do you? I certainly don't.
Not necessarily, but I think if you're overweight, living on a council estate, then you're having more children.
Why is overweight anything to do with it? There are plenty of wealthy people who are overweight, middle-class people are overweight. The people who are the most voracious customers for Ozempic and Mounjaro aren't necessarily the poorest people. They're all people. They're people with weight problems all over the Western world. But to say the worst people about the poorest people does mean that in your mind you're making a really horrible kind of conclusion, doesn't it? Unkind and
No.
It does.
Let me defend it. I'm not saying all poor people. Yeah, I'm not saying all poor people are bad. I'm not saying everyone on the council estate is bad. But I think we all know that the kinds of people that are having lots and lots and lots of children are the kind of people that spend money on tattoos instead of their children. They spend money on cigarettes. I think these habits make them bad, not the fact that they're poor. And there are lots of very good poor people and lots of very bad rich people. But we all see it. The people that are irresponsible and have children they can't afford are the same ones letting their children go to school hungry, and we already have school meals to compensate for that, free breakfasts. And it does encourage these people who are irresponsible and don't use contraception when they should, just to have more and more children on the planet. But
the whole conversation, have you not been listening to people talking about the way that life can deal these unexpected blows? Life can, suddenly whisk you in a direction you didn't think you were going in. You suddenly, your relationship breaks up. Suddenly you lose your job. Suddenly you're pregnant with triplets you didn't realize. All sorts of things can happen to people, and also to be somebody kind of deliberately conceiving children and having them for 17 quid a week or whatever it is. Come on.
Well, people do that, and they do it for a bigger home. I'd also say for triplets and twins, let's have a special payment for them. For people that are genuinely we have benefit payments for people that have become unemployed. Let's keep that going and help these people. But we want to the long-term unemployed. I'd say the long-term unemployed who are doing so out of choice, who are then having lots of children to get a bigger house and get more child benefit, those are the worst people in society. That is probably what the majority think, but are too scared to say, frankly. And we shouldn't be encouraging them, often probably with a lower IQ as well, to have more children than the average middle-class person who's having 2 children and works hard.
It isn't about working hard. There are plenty of people working hard and struggling financially terribly. I once did a story a couple of years ago about an occupied building in Great Portland Street in the centre of London where homeless people had gained entry and were sleeping there. More and more people came there. And in the morning, about 75% of them got up, got dressed and went to work. It wasn't that they weren't working. It was that they were, in the gig economy. They were 0 hours contracts. They weren't earning enough money to pay for rent or a home, but they were working, and there were journalists in there documenting it. There were film crews filming it. In the end, the company that owned this building that couldn't be bothered to use it for anything recommissioned it, got rid of all the people who were sleeping there. I think some of the conclusions you're making are simply unkind, also inaccurate. I appreciate the call, though. Thank you very much indeed.
Matthew's the first-time caller in Reading. Matthew.
Hi, Tom. How are you? All right?
Well, sir, your thoughts?
I live in a hotel.
What?
I live in a hotel.
In a sort of Alan Partridge, Linton travel situation?
Well, the rents in Reading are astronomical, absolutely through the roof. So you're looking at maybe £1,500 for a one-bedroom flat close to Reading town centre. I'm partially disabled, so I need to be close to Reading. And living in a budget hotel close to Reading town centre is the cheapest option.
Living in a budget hotel full-time is cheaper than renting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you mind?
So if you imagine they're going to put £2 a night on, that's going to put maybe another 60, 70, 80 quid a month on my price of my room.
How long have you been living in a hotel?
A year.
And has it been all right? It's been good? You've enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's fine. It's no problem at all. It's a little bit different from most hotels because if you speak to reception, they will let you have a microwave and stuff like that. But it suits me down to the ground. But imagine the cost it's going to cost. Because if I pay for it up front for a month, so it's mine for a month. But if they're going to put 3% or 5% on the top of that, it's going to cost me another 150 quid a month.
Matthew, in a way that is total genius, isn't it? Because presumably you don't pay any bills. You don't pay any heating bills or water bills.
No.
You don't pay any council tax.
No. I don't have to sign up to any contracts. All I do is pay for the room.
You're not going to get kicked out?
No.
You get your room changed out. You clean sheets every night. Get the room cleaned.
No, you don't get that because when you take on one of these rooms, the only thing you really do have to provide is your own bedding. So
you provide your own bedding?
Yeah, your own bedding. Yeah, basically a couple of pillows, a duvet, and a couple of bottom sheets.
I know what bedding is, but does it get washed regularly by the people who would normally go into a hotel room and change the sheets and wash the sheets?
No, I strip it every week and take it across to the laundrette. Stick it in the laundrette.
Wow.
Cost me 6-7 quid to get all my bedding washed and stuff like that. I don't work because I'm disabled, so I haven't got any work clothes to worry about. So, but it's going to have a big effect on somebody like me. And I'm not the only long-term resident in this hotel. I think there are about maybe 10.
And how long has the longest resident been in the hotel for?
I'm led to believe the guy that lived in the room that I live in now was here for over 10 years.
Where's he now?
I don't know. I'm not sure what happened to him. I didn't really ask.
Right.
But I was just told that, we have quite a few long-term residents in this hotel.
But there are people that have been living in hotels for multiple years.
Yeah.
A lot of people, Matthew, I have to say, are asking this question, and it's a good one. Did you bring your big plate?
Sorry?
Don't worry about it. Matthew, really appreciate it. That is astonishing, isn't it?
Back to your calls on Brighton and Hove City Council cancelling a library exhibition depicting the Union flag, celebrating its diversity, ironically, because they thought that people might find it offensive. Do you understand that? Is that the right decision? Do you find the flag offensive? And how did we get to a point where some people do, or at least some people seem to think people do? Lorna's on the line in Beckenham tonight. Hi, Lorna.
Oh, hi there. I think, possibly my comment will be sort of rather controversial. I'd like just to point out that the mayor of Brighton is a Muslim.
Amanda Grimshaw.
Pardon?
Amanda Grimshaw is the mayor of Brighton.
No. Well, in which case it's the deputy who is a Muslim.
Well, hold on, who is it? Because Amanda Grimshaw is, I don't know if she's a Muslim, but she's a white woman in her 40s or 50s.
Oh, no,
and her name's Amanda Grimshaw.
No. All I'm saying is then possibly the deputy mayor, and he speaks very little English. Perhaps he's had some, I don't know, some comment we don't know, do we? It's full of students down there.
Right.
I only say that because, and again, a lot of these students, again, my comment will be controversial, have very left-wing thoughts, probably don't like the idea, I don't know. But it seems to me very unfair that this doesn't, it's not, it's not on, and it's not the right thing to do.
Are you talking about the former mayor of Brighton, Lorna? Mohammed Asaduzzaman?
Mohammed, well...
He's Bengali. He's lived in Brighton for 30 years. He does speak English.
Well, it's not very... Well, not terribly...
he has an accent.
Not terribly good. No.
He speaks English. He speaks English perfectly well, but he's got an accent.
A bit more than an accent, but anyway, I don't know. All I'm saying is I think there must be an awful lot of people...
No, but what you're saying is that you think the Muslim man who's got an accent must be somehow behind this. That's what you're saying.
No.
Well, it is, because
I'm not. No.
It sounds like it, because you've called in and you've inferred that because he's Muslim and he speaks with a foreign accent, then maybe he was involved. That was your point.
What I'm saying is also there are an awful lot of students down there who are very left-wing.
But they don't run the council, Laura, do they?
No, they don't. But
Right.
They obviously have a great...
And nor does this guy.
But also the council's probably very left-wing as well.
Yeah, it might be. It might well be.
So on that basis alone, that's enough for them to condemn.
But there's a lot of left-wing people who are proud of the Union flag. I don't think it follows that if you're left-wing, you think the Union flag is offensive.
I do think quite a lot of people do, actually.
Do you?
Yes, I do. And otherwise, well, I know most of LBC presenters are very left-wing.
Are we?
We know that. Yes, they are.
So this news to me, Lorna.
It's not news to me, and I don't think it's news to a lot of people who listen in.
Do you think I'm very left-wing?
Not as left-wing possibly as.
So who do you think the
LBC
who do you think the LBC socialists are then?
Well, there are the obvious ones.
Go on.
How about James?
I wouldn't say James is very left-wing.
Well, I just turn the radio off at that point.
Well, you're entitled to. What? Because you don't agree with him, so you don't want to hear it.
No, because he is. So
did you not? So you don't like hearing people who have different political views to you, Lorna? Is that what you're telling me?
No. I don't mind,
but
I do. There's an awful LBC happens to be particularly.
So when you hear people you think are left wing, you just turn off, do you?
Funnily enough, yes. When it gets to the point of being totally against things that I possibly agree with.
Right.
But,
so when you hear things you don't agree with, you turn off the radio.
When it gets to the point of being very, very silly, yes.
All right. Thank you, Lorna. I'm a tolerant country, we like to think, but we don't want to hear views that we don't like. Appreciate the call, Lorna. I think it's pretty unfounded, to say the very least, to suggest that just because the former mayor of Brighton is a Bangladeshi Muslim, he had anything to do with this decision. It's the current council leader, whose name is Bella Sankey, who has been defending the decision. The current mayor of Brighton is Councillor Amanda Grimshaw. She might well be Muslim. I'd suspect she isn't. She's a white woman in her 40s or 50s.
Simon's in Watford. What's it really like, Simon?
To be honest, James, it's really, really tough. I find myself every month scrapping around to try and pay bills. Having worked all my life since being 15 years old, really.
Yeah.
I'm now 55. I have, very lucky, I've got my wife and 4 children. And we could afford 4 children up until the point of everything going to hell for me. My business went. I then got employment on a self-employed basis. That then went. Now I survive on universal credit. I should say we survive on universal credit.
Yeah.
And I've taken a job back in March, self-employed as a courier. So I deliver parcels daily.
And you still qualify for universal credit?
Yes, because they have a minimum income floor before which they don't take off money for earning, but it's. I don't want to say I earn a pittance for what I do, but it is a low-paid manual work. You know, it's not skilled. I worked in legal services for many years, and before that, I ran a successful marketing company.
Yeah.
But at 55 years old, I apply for many, many jobs a week. I've lost count. I've stopped even using a tracker. I haven't had an interview since January, which I put down to my age.
Yeah.
I applied for a TfL taxi license for a minicab, so I could do Uber, because I thought, you know what, I can drive. I used to drive many miles. I thought, you know, I'll do that. I applied on July the 31st, 2024. I got my first response from TfL in August this year.
A whole year, 12 to 13 months.
£1,000.
You sent them £1,000?
Medical fees, exams.
That's what you would have to find in order to get the licence.
Yeah.
I mean, that I suppose is the only bit of that story that's defensible. You can't. I mean, you have to jump through some hoops and provide some indemnities to be driving members of the public around. But
100%, James. I have no issue with having to do that.
13-month wait.
But the 13-month wait to hear back on your application, when they have asked for further information. I've been back to my doctor's surgery twice to get further information. You know, it all just seems like these barriers just seem to get further and further away.
So what are mornings like this like then, when the gulf between what you know to be true and what you're hearing on your radio or seeing, you know, on the newspaper headlines in the supermarket? What is that bit like, if you don't mind me asking?
Potentially, I'm one of the sensible people that gave up buying newspapers many moons ago.
I knew that. That's why I said when you walk past the headlines in the supermarket, you see, psychic.
You did. And you know, there's very few news agencies, as your previous caller said, that run unbiased.
Sure.
I think anybody that thinks I'm skiving and you know, costing them money couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
I've paid in all my working life. I've paid in potentially more than a lot of people have.
Yes, I understand that.
I've never claimed a thing up until 2019, when I have to.
Sure.
But now they're capping my my housing benefit. I know your previous caller said the same thing.
Yeah.
So we're a family of 6, and our rent is capped at £2,100. My rent is more than that.
Yeah.
Because I live in Harrow. I'm a northerner by birth. Yes, I could move back up north, but my children's lives are down here. That's not going to solve anything, but I have to find an extra £600 a month just to pay rent.
To stay in the house that you're in?
To stay in the house that we've been in for the last few years, because since I lost ours.
You lost the house as well as a consequence of losing your business? Oh, man.
Everything. So I'm not woe is me. I'm getting up every morning and I'm going to work. But without the universal credit, my children would be homeless.
And Kemi Badenoch thinks you live on Benefit Street. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Well, interestingly, I used to be a member of the Conservative Party. Well, I don't know whether that's interesting or not.
It is to me.
I was a local councillor. And I really enjoyed it, and I felt like that was my way of giving back. But I'm looking at the Conservative Party today, and I don't recognise it.
No, and you're not alone. There's plenty of good people who I may disagree with on many elements of politics, but I don't disagree on the basic decency of them who don't recognise the Conservative Party in its current incarnation either. I mean, not least because it bears almost sole responsibility for an awful lot of the things that have happened to you, up to and including the invention of universal credit.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of questions to answer who will never be brought to account. But that has been the way of the world for a long, long time. It's nothing new. It's not an.
Do you think it's worse? Because I mean, we're all Victor. We're very similar ages. I think it's worse than it's ever been. I mean, not just because you can just glance over the Atlantic for proof. It just since Brexit, and I know I go on about it, but I think I'm right to because it's 100 billion reasons why. I think it's got worse since then. I think the liars have never had it so good. Personally, I'm interested whether you agree.
I don't disagree with what you're saying in any way. I think Brexit has a lot to answer for. I was a Stay person. I was a Remain.
Sure.
I still am a Remain. I can't believe that we shut ourselves off from markets that were available to us in such a brutal way. That said, there is another side to that argument. Fair play to them. The Conservatives, even Labour, they used to stand for very good morals, and then you look at them today, and they're just grabbing every pound of flesh that they can,
and trying to fend off unhappiness on their own backbenches and trying to.
Well, that's all the budget was about, wasn't it?
I think a lot of it was, yeah. But I mean, you could benefit from it. Your children are probably a bit too old, are they? But people in exactly the same situation as you will benefit from the abolition of the two-child benefit cap.
I wish that had been,
a few years ago.
A few years ago, my two eldest are young adults now.
Yeah.
Two of them still qualify for child benefit, but that would have made a huge difference to me in the last few years.
And I don't know what the image is that people have been encouraged to have in their mind, but probably some sort of feckless, chain-smoking single mother with 12 children hanging from her waist. That's very deliberately created in the minds of people, and the last thing they want is for people to imagine families, and I'm not going to say families like yours, Simon, I'm going to say families like their own. Families like, if you've got 3 or 4 children, it's families like yours that benefit from the abolition of the two-child benefit cap. And yet the mythical, or not mythical, but the unrepresentative Channel 5 cliche, which Cami Badenoch elected to play into fully yesterday with her Benefit Street rhetoric, is not the reality that we should all be looking for. Mate, I'd hate these phone-ins. I've got to be honest with you, because I always have to end by saying thank you, and that's all I can say. I can't have any. Again, as with Matt, if anybody listening has heard your backstory and heard your obvious work ethic and might have something for you, then we'll pass it on. But now I'm sounding like something out of a Charles Dickens novel. Simon, thank you, mate, and take care.